Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic show. I am happy to share with you today a fantastic guest. We have with us Carmen Turner-Schott. She is a practicing licensed clinical social worker, astrologer, writer, and teacher with a national and international clientele. She has been working as an astrological counselor and with victims of trauma for over 25 years. She completed her Master of Social Work degree at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And Carmen's book, Phoenixes and Angels, brilliantly bring the shadows of the 8th and 12th astrological house out into the light of evolutionary growth. And her other recent book, Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing, is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to talk about both those books today. First off, Carmen, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm just thrilled to have you. First off, what triggered you to study astrology and, become such an expert in this category?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I always was very intuitive and just kind of dreamed things and felt a little bit different than my family and friends. And I wanted to figure out why I was this way. And I always believed in angels and all of these things. And so I went to try to find out more about myself, honestly, to validate, why am I so different? And one of the first books I picked up was an astrology book about my sun sign Virgo. And when I read that, it just validated my main personality. And I'm like, how does this work? Like, why is this so accurate? And I love psychology. I wanted to become a counselor. And so I started researching and learned, that Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, he believed in astrology. He was a psychological astrologer, and his 12 archetypes are kind of related to the 12 signs of the zodiac. And I thought, oh, this is really neat. Bringing astrology and psychology together was a real big interest of mine. So I just started teaching myself how to do charts back in the 1994, 1995. It was a long time ago. And I draw them by hand and I would just practice, because back then we didn't have computer programs like I have today, where I can put in anywhere in the world and it'll calculate it for me. It's a lot easier. In those days, you had to have rulers and draw the planet symbols and all the aspects. It was just a lot of work to do a chart. And I realized that I had a lot of planets in the two spiritual houses, which are the 12th house and 8th house in the chart. And when I started learning more about those houses, there wasn't a lot of books out there at the time that weren't scary. A lot of them were negative, and there wasn't a lot of positive strengths about the 8th and 12th houses. So I've been researching these two houses for almost 30 years now and collecting stories from people from all over the world. And then also started an 8th and 12th house Facebook group back when Facebook was new, just for people that have planets in these two areas of life, in their astrology chart, which is the map of your soul. And I just started realizing I want to write about these two houses. And so I have two other books out there about the 8th and 12th, but I wanted to write a book that brings both of them together. And I wrote Phoenixes and Angels, mastering the 8th and 12th astrological houses, because 12th house people I call angels, and then 8th house people I call phoenixes. And what that means is that when you're born, that you have the sun, the moon, more than 3 planets in the 12th or 8th, or you have a lot of Pisces energy or a lot of Scorpio energy in your chart. And anyone that has those energies is going to resonate with this angel and phoenix archetype, because it's very, very scientific. It's energy. And I realized that there were different patterns that I started seeing play out for everyone that I met that had planets in the 12th or 8th house. And I thought, wow, this is a science. Like, this is research. So I've been doing more scientific research, because astrology is considered a pseudoscience, right? It's hard to really prove that these things work, but we know they do we know the full moon affects us, right? And our emotions, but it's hard to prove that the moon sign in astrology is your emotional nature. I know it's true and I know it makes sense to me, but it's hard to show that in data. So what I've been doing is just randomly selected 50 charts. And out of those 50 charts, I'd ask people 5 questions. And especially, let's say the 12th house. I asked them, did you feel different as a child, like you weren't from Earth, like you were alien or adopted? Did you feel like you didn't belong here? Like you knew you were a soul. And out of 50 random charts, 49 out of 50 people said yes. And then they would all share a similar experience. And I thought, wow, they really feel, that's why I call them angels, because it's like they have one foot in the spiritual and one foot in the material world. And they have to be in the world because they chose to come here. And they came here to serve others and help people. So that's why I call 12th house people angels. And that's anyone that has planets in the 12th astrological house, which the 12th house rules dreams and a connection to a higher power, oneness with God, oneness with others, the subconscious mind. It represents angels and mysticism, escapism, sacrifice, meditation, anything artistic and imaginative. It's a very spiritual house. And so people that have planets there, they usually tell me that they're born with these special spiritual abilities. I call them spiritual gifts. You can call them psychic abilities. What it is they're very empathic, very intuitive, and they typically dream things that happen. And the dreaming things that happen is one of the patterns I've seen. And all 50 people that I randomly selected said, yes, I've had at least one or multiple dreams of the future. And I never knew why. And I said, well, it's because you have planets in the 12th house. So I started seeing this research and these different patterns. And one of the things about, 12th house people is that they usually go into psychology and counseling and healing and astrology and all of these different fields because they want to help people. And 8th house people, people that planets in the 8th house, I call them phoenixes because the energy is a little different. It's a spiritual house, but it's the house of rebirth, of death, of transformation, of the emotions, mind, body transformation, a lot of change, a lot of traumatic experiences have to happen to 8th house people. They tend to go through these crises, right, in their life where they have to start all over again. And sometimes they lose a loved one at a young age. And that grief and that loss is what makes them who they are. And a lot of them go into therapy and energy healing and helping people in a very deep way. And they are phoenixes because I find that they're very resilient and they rise from the ashes stronger than they were before, but they're a whole different person. They tell me that they're not who they used to be. It's like the old Carmen died and they have a new person, right? And so they all share this with me. And so they have that phoenix energy.
Wow. And
that's what
I
8
find the
phoenixes
term
and
itself,
12th house people, angels.
house, to be very interesting, how that was created. This is your house. And how
Yes.
do we as an individual realize what house we are in? Is that all based on our zodiac sign, such as I'm a Taurus? So how do we discover what house we're in?
Yes, so that's a good question. So a really simple way that I like to explain it is you need to know your date, your exact month, day, and year of birth, and your time of birth, AM or PM. Exact time of birth is very important, and your city, state, country of birth. We need all of those to have an accurate birth chart. And so let's say this, you're a Taurus. So on your birthday, on the time you're born, place, date, and year, when we looked up at the sky from Earth, all of the planets were in a certain star constellation, which there's 12 constellations in our solar system, and they all are there in a certain area of the sky. And we break the sky into 12 sections like a pie. That's what astrologers do. So it's like we're looking at the sky, we break it into 12 sections, we look at what planet is in which star constellation, and it falls on a wheel. And it's like we take a picture of the sky when you were born and we put it on a piece of paper. That's what we do. And it looks like it's a wheel, and it's broken to 12 sections, which are what we call houses. Houses are just areas of life, and each house represents a different area of life of our personality. So for instance, the first house is the house of your identity, of yourself, your physical body, how you look, how you use your voice, how you speak, and how you're assertive, how you go after your goals. It's the house of self. The second house is the house of money and finance, security, comfort, self-worth. The third house is communication, how you talk, your siblings, how you writing abilities, right? How you short journeys. Fourth house is your home and family, your childhood, your parents, your own home, your own children, your future home, right? All of those memories from being a child. So we can look at the fourth house, and if you have planets there, we can say, okay, these are the lessons and karmic experiences you're going to have in the home and family house. And it goes on, fifth house, sixth house, all the way through 12. And each house rules different things. Like the sixth house is health, your diet, what kind of health issues you might get. Seventh house is marriage, partnership. So we look at what sign is on each of the houses, what planets are in each of the houses, and what sign the planets are in. And we analyze that. And that's why everyone has a unique birth chart, just like everyone has a unique fingerprint, right? And it's unique to you and your journey and kind of why you came here. And so that's the easiest way to explain it. It's what was in the sky, the energies going on when your soul came into the physical realm.
Oh my goodness. That is so fascinating.
I love it.
Fascinating. And I was just blown away. I mean, in the book, you have a chapter, for everyone. And I'm reading through all the Taurus information, and it was, oh my gosh, this is so spot on.
I know, right? It's crazy. I've been meeting so many Tauruses lately. It's so funny. I've been on two other shows, and they both were Taurus, and I always click with Taurus. Like I clicked with you when we met, and I'm like, I knew they were, and and I'm a Virgo, so we're both earth signs. So the earth signs always, are very compatible. So but I was talking about their Taurus energy, and they had never had their chart done, never really knew astrology. And they're like, how did you know that about me? I'm like, well, it's your sun sign. And they're like, I want to know more. Like, so they're, really got interested when I did their chart live. I pulled it up when they were interviewing me, and they were really shocked how accurate it was. And I said, well, it's a science. To me, it's like any personality tool. We have Myers-Briggs, we have the 4 lenses, and I'm trained in all those, through my normal job. And when I was doing the 4 lenses for team building, it's all about getting to know people at work and who you're compatible with and understanding their work style. It's the 4 elements of astrology: earth, air, fire, and water. So you have like the golds, the greens, the blues, and oranges. It's the same traits that every personality tool and psychological tool uses. Even, what is the Myers-Briggs, all these different things tell you, oh, you're an introvert or extrovert. Same with astrology. It's all connected. All of this stuff is connected. It's just astrology is really a tool, a psychological tool. It's its own language. It's symbols. And so it takes a little while to learn it, but anyone can learn it. And that's why I like to write the basic books about this. So people can pick up my sun signs book, my moon signs book, and they can really learn how to calculate a chart, what it all means, what are all the symbols, what are the personality traits of each sign. And I make it very simple, because I don't want to, astrology is something you could spend lifetimes learning. I mean, I'm still learning everything, and you're never going to learn it all. I mean, I talk to people, and I'm still learning, and people that have been doing this 50 years tell me they're still learning. And I have some astrology mentors that have been doing astrology since the 1970s, before I was born. And I'm working with them, and we learn from each other too, and they're supporting me. And so I just love meeting people, and everyone kind of has their forte and their niche and what they're an expert in, right? There's some astrologers that are experts in relocation. Where is the best place for you to live? Some astrologers are experts in medical astrology or relationships. And my expertise is on trauma and healing trauma, healing and developing our strengths in the 8th and 12th houses. That's where my research is. And so that's kind of what I'm known for. People reach out to me from all over the world that have planets in the 8th and 12th house because they know that I've been studying it for so long. And there's not a lot of books out there about these houses. There's just a few. There's a little bit more coming out now and then. But when I started, there was nothing really. There was like one. And so I really wanted to write Phoenixes and Angels based on my own experiences of living through these 8th and 12th house energies and what that was like and how I overcame, right? And how to tap into your spiritual gifts and not see them as a curse, but as a blessing. And to shift, to a positive, because the 8th house is one of the most resilient houses in astrology. Is there hard lessons that happen? Yes. I lost my friend at 16 from an accidental shooting. That was devastating to me. But I know now a lot of that was I was meant to go through that because of my 8th house moon and all these planets there, to lose a loved one, because that got me on the spiritual path. So these life events that happen, they're there to trigger us to get to where we want to go. And so in astrology, we look at what's called transits. And what a transit means is that, we have the birth chart, which is the day, month, year, place, time of your birth. That never changes. That's the map of your soul. But then we have what's going on in the sky right now. So we take a picture of the sky right now and we put that on top of your birth chart, Paula. Astrologers can see what is affecting each area of your life right now. Your health, your work, your relationships, your career, your travel, right? All these things, your family. And that's what I do. I just did 2 charts this weekend, and people, they told me I really just went through a very hard time. Like they went through, the hardest time in their life, and they divorced after like 28 years of marriage and health issue, all these things. And I looked at their transits and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is why. And when I explained it all, they're like, that makes sense. And this validates. And then they felt like, okay, there's a reason. I go, yes, because you were meant to get into your soul mission. And so I always use all of the energies that are affecting people when they share with me these real experiences. I validate it through astrology, because astrology is a science. The energies affect us whether we believe in astrology or not. The full moon affects everyone, right? And all these things. And there's a funny video I saw. It's like, you believe in astrology even if you don't think you do, and it was like about nature. Yeah. And it is. It's just part of it. And so I call it psychological astrology. I call myself a psychological astrologer because I really use it to help build people's strengths and help them understand themselves on a deeper level and to understand other people. And that's what I use it for, and there's all kinds of different types of astrologers out there and different expertise. Some people really get into the degrees and the transits and really research, and some of that might be a little hard for most people to get interested in because it's more scientific. So I want to make it simple and fun, like reading a book about different Myers-Briggs. People are really interested in Myers-Briggs, and it's the same as astrology. When you know your rising sign, your sun, and your moon sign, those top 3 are so important to knowing who you are.
Fascinating. And I can imagine what it's been like for you, Carmen, being a licensed social worker and combining that with the astrology as you help others. I bet that has been just fascinating.
It is. I realized when I was in graduate school, get my master's in social work, I was working a lot with teenagers and children and runaway teens actually as well. I worked in adoption preservation, just a lot of different things. But when I was doing these internships, I was meeting people for fun in graduate school, practicing astrology. So I was doing charts. I was counseling people. using their chart, didn't know anything about them. I meet them at a Panera Bread or, wherever out in the community, and they would cry. They would get emotional. Like, how did you know this? And I'm like, it's the map of your soul. It's your personality. I've just studied it and I've interpreted. So now I just pull it up and I just know the patterns and the energies because I've been doing it so long now. And they're like, they said, this has helped me more than like 8 sessions of counseling. And then that's what I realized, that it's such, just one, having your chart done once can heal so much that even years of counseling can't really heal.
Yeah.
Because it's so deep and it gets right to the healing and the issues that are going on in your life. And whereas sometimes, normal traditional therapy doesn't work for everyone, right? It does for some. And so I'm trained in all kinds of different trauma modalities, EMDR, cognitive behavior therapy, all kinds of different things. I'm trained in Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, pranic healing,
Yeah.
all these things. And so I'm always trying to learn new skills to bring into working with everyone, especially because we all have trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma, hear that word, you think, oh, that means, oh, I don't have trauma. I never went through anything really, really bad like some people. You can't look at others and judge that, because to some people, getting a divorce is very traumatic. To some people, they may not lose a loved one, or they may not have witnessed an accident or survived an accident. That's trauma too. But everyone is affected in a different way, and their body, that fight flight response, we don't know what will cause trauma. It may just be hearing about something that happened to a loved one can be traumatic to us. I mean, there's all these things that we all have trauma, so to speak, that we need to heal.
Yes.
And it's not, and it's different scales, and we can't, say, oh, well, our trauma doesn't matter because other people have gone through way worse than us. No, we all have our own things we need to heal. So I talk to 8th and 12th house people about that, because they tend to push down their trauma and keep going because they're survivors and they're phoenixes. But what happens is they never truly heal all of those things. And so it keeps coming back up for them to reassess, readdress. And so they end up, a lot of them become wounded healers. Like, they're drawn to energy work, healing, psychology, all these things, because they want to help other people heal from the things they've been through. And so they are, 8th and 12th house people are special. And that's why I wanted to combine both houses into one book in this Phoenixes and Angels book. And because they're my 2 favorite houses. Yeah.
And I know you talked about how important self-care is.
Oh, yes.
That's so important for us, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. I talk a little bit about that in a couple of my books. And the reason is because, as givers, people that are in the helping professions, we tend to give, but we don't always take time to replenish our own energy. And I love that saying, you got to fill your own cup up first before you can fill somebody else's cup. If your cup's empty, you're not going to have a lot to give to others when they come to you for help. So you got to really fill up your love tank, so to speak, is what I call it. From
love tank.
Yeah, like the 5 love languages, like your love tank. If your love tank is empty, you're not going to be feeling good or mentally feeling positive about things. If you're burned out, and and that compassion fatigue and burnout can affect a lot of people, especially that are in the helping professions, because it is, your people always coming to you for help, and that's good. You want to be a service, but you have to learn to have boundaries, and that's what 12th house people have to learn. And that was one of my greatest lessons, to have boundaries and to be able to say no. If something didn't feel right, or I didn't want to go out to eat, or I didn't want to do something, I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And sometimes, we do things we really don't feel inside we really want to do because we're tired, or we know we need time for us, right? So now I've learned to make more time for myself, and I need that alone time so I can replenish, and then I need to balance my schedule. I know that about myself. I can't do 10 charts a week like I did in my younger days. I know that it depletes me. I get pretty tired after one chart, right? One a day. So now I just do charts on the weekend. I do consults, and I have a wait list. And I tell people, I have a wait list. If you're willing to wait, I'll get you scheduled. And I'm not trying to do more than I physically and mentally, emotionally can do, and that's what self-care is.
You are so awesome. We have about 2 minutes left in the show.
Oh, wow.
Please share with everyone your website, how they can learn more about
Yeah.
you, contact you,
Sure.
and whatever last word you'd like to share with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. You can find me on www.carmenturner-schott, SCHOTT.com, carmenturnerschott.com. You can find me on Facebook, Carmen Turner-Schott writer, Instagram, Carmen Turner-Schott author. I have a YouTube channel that you can follow, Carmen Turner-Schott, and subscribe. And I do been posting more videos. But you can find all my books on my website, on my books page, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And my words of wisdom, I believe astrology is a powerful tool that can help us heal, transform, and become more resilient. And that's my parting words.
I love that. And the more we get that word out there and the more we can delve into that. I know after reading Sun Signs, I'm fascinated. I was just fascinated.
Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. I'm so happy.
How wonderful that is. And I really want to say thank you for all the people that you are helping and guiding. And, I think finding it just fascinates me. I myself now want to know what my chart is and my birth chart. And what's fascinating, I think, and I'll say this real quick, is as you pointed out, there's so much scientifics behind this. There is a lot of scientifics behind this and how we are affected by the full moon, or we're affected by, that's fascinating and really a great thing to learn about, isn't it?
It is. I believe God created astrology. It's in the Bible. It's in major religions throughout the world. It's been around since ancient times, but it's even, in the book of Revelation, the book of Genesis, it goes by the seasons of the year. It's tropical astrology. So that, it never changes. The cardinal signs start the seasons, and it just all was created for a reason. And I believe it's energy, and it does impact our life. I love it.
Oh, Carmen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. So great. Love, hugs, and blessings. Carmen, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.